All right, there you have it. The direct examination of Dr. Daniel Wolf is done. Let's bring in our guest who is standing by this hour, national trial attorney Michael Jaafar. Michael, we heard inconsistent over and over from this expert saying that the tail light damage was inconsistent with the striking of an arm. The damage to the hoodie was inconsistent with a rear tail light going into it. What do you make of how he did on the stand? I mean, that's the opinion that the defense wants to get through to this jury.
I think he did a good job. This is the part of the defense theory in the defense case that I actually like. It's the very serviceable part of their defense, right? That the injuries sustained by John O'Keefe were not consistent with the pedestrian strike. I don't agree. I think that this expert, what they did was they showed the jury the fragility of the taillight. They showed them that it's possible for a taillight to be broken at those speeds. I think that the jury's going to go in. Listen, reasonable doubt is contextual, right? If somebody dies on Mars and there's only from a gunshot wound and there's only one other person on Mars with a gun, we don't need any evidence to know who killed that person. So it's very contextual. So that's what I think the state did to frame this case for the defense. They framed it by saying, look, they ossified the timeline, Julia. They said they down to the second, exactly when he left the car, within 20 seconds, he stopped moving. He was found dead. All parties agree that Karen Read dropped him off past midnight and that he was found dead on the lawn at 6 o'clock in the morning. The only thing that they're arguing about is what happened in between, right? And so I think this expert right here tried to show that there's no way that he was hit by a car at 24 miles an hour, because look at how the damage is different. But all situations are differently. None of us know the angle at which John O'Keefe hit that vehicle. We don't know if any part of his body or torso was hit by that vehicle. All we know from the expert from the state is that his arm hit the vehicle. And if his arm hit the vehicle and his body did not hit the vehicle, then what happened? I think the juries are going to be looking at all of this. And at the end of the day, I think the jury will make the reasonable inference that if he was hit by this vehicle, he would have died. Because at the end of the day, you fall back and you hit your head and you suffer blunt force trauma. That's how you die. I had a client die last year. Healthy young male, slipped and fell on stairs, hit his head, bled out within seconds. And so it happens more than people think. This case has all the hallmarks of a pedestrian strike. One of his shoes was gone from his foot. He was found dead exactly where Karen Read's the data from her car shows that she backed up. For the jury to believe that this was staged or choreographed by some mastermind who knew exactly where her car backed up. They staged it. They took a shoe off. They put him exactly where her car backed up. They took taillight pieces. They sprinkled them around his body. It's just too much for the jury to do. And I think that's why Hank Brennan focused on facts in this case, not innuendo. I respect the defense for what they did. This is the part of their case that I actually respect a lot. This is how any defense attorney would handle it. They did an excellent job. I think this expert did an excellent job. Will it create reasonable doubt? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see where they put the next ARCA witness, because they ended their case last year with ARCA. This year, it's earlier in their case that we're hearing from Dr. Daniel Wolf, but maybe they're saving Dr. Rentschler for the end as well. We'll see. Michael Jaafar, stand by. Bring in national trial attorney Michael Jaafar to get reaction on what we're hearing. Michael Jaafar, we've got now Cassie Ventura has testified. Mia, who was testifying under a pseudonym, someone who worked for Combs, talked about abuse and rape. And now we have a third person, a girlfriend, going under by the name Jane there. Are we getting closer, do you think, to the prosecution fully proving this in front of a jury?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking on the one when I was hearing what Kelly was saying. Yeah, I think they've proven their case. I think they've reached their burden at this point. They've tied it in. They've tied in the fact that, first of all, he crossed state lines. There was more than 2 incidents in the last 10 years. He used his underlings. He used coercion. He did everything. He basically fit into the racketeering framework at this point. I think the state's going to keep going. But also one more thing, Julia. I think what the government is doing, and this is what you do when you really want to win a case, they're making the jury be disgusted by the defendant, right? This conduct is disgusting. It's repulsive. It's repugnant. And so that is an element of this, right? Because you're going to expect jurors who are human beings to go into a jury room and deliberate. And you want them to hate the defendant as much as possible, to look at him as a complete villain, as a complete narcissist. And they've proven that, right? I'm not in the courtroom. We're not in the courtroom, but I would imagine that these witnesses are very sympathetic and that the jury relate. Now, but a lot of, witnesses, have taken the fifth when they testified. Also, I'm cognizant of the fact that there's going to be a rebuttal case. The defense is going to take this. In addition to cross-examining these people, they're going to have their own witnesses. They're going to put evidence on. They're going to harvest their own data. So, I'm cognizant of that. The case is not over, but I think the state has definitely met the framework of RICO with everything they've laid out. This is just a very disgusting fact pattern, but the government wanted it that way, and it helps them get a conviction.
Playing out in front of these jurors. I keep thinking about this one juror during jury selection who was a 74-year-old who at first said they would have difficulty having to hear all of these details, the graphic ones, and then talk about it in a deliberation room. But ultimately, they were rehabilitated as a juror, and they are a seated juror. So what happens when they go back into the deliberation room with this kind of information? Michael Jaafar, thank you for your analysis. We're going to get to a break. Let's quickly bring in National Trial Attorney Michael Jaafar, see what he thinks about this cross so far. Right now, it's focusing, Michael, on these text messages. Do jurors care about the communication of ARCA with the defense when they are now defense witnesses this time around?
I think it matters a lot, and I know where he's going. He's going to basically. This is where he got under this expert Wolf's skin in a motion in limine earlier on in the case. He's going to get under his skin again. He's going to do it right now. This is where he is going to basically tell. He's going to get him to smile, and this is where the snarkiness is going to came out in the last motion. He's going to ask him about the text messages that he deleted from his Signal app between himself and the defense. This is very relevant. It also makes him look very devious and makes him look like he has something to hide. This really falls in line with what Hank Brennan wants the jury to believe at the end after he's done with this witness, which is you can't trust him, you can't believe him. Look, he deleted messages. If you could trust him, why would he delete his text messages with the defense? So that's where he's going. He's going to basically unravel and unpeel all the layers of this witness right now in front of the jury.
No, when you talk about deleted messages, though, Michael Jaafar, there's some Commonwealth witnesses who had some deleted things that the defense likes to bring up a lot. So are we going down a path that you may not want the jurors to be thinking of?
That's why Hank Brennan never called those witnesses. That's exactly why he never called them. He didn't call them because of exactly what you just said. Because deleted messages are very, very bad, especially in a trial context. Credibility matters. We are asking the jurors to call balls and strikes, and they're going to call those balls and strikes based on credibility. If you're a defense expert or a state expert, forget about the Alperson Higgins, just an expert, and you delete messages that are germane to a case, how am I going to trust you? I think that's what Hank Brennan wants to do. I'm going to watch the entirety of this cross-examination later with some popcorn.
Oh, geez, but not the popcorn with a cross-examination. That's not typical, but this is an all-important witness, so we are going to be definitely paying attention to what he has to say and trying to figure out when we're going to hear from the next ARCA witness, because that's going to also, of course, bolster the defense's theory. But where are they going to put it in this case? Because the latest that we're hearing is that this defense is going until Tuesday of next week. Michael Jaafar, thank you so much for your analysis and for joining us this hour. We always appreciate it.